God is here. Let us listen.
When the heart feels heavy for no reason and the weight arrives without a name, you are still here, God, closer than the breath that steadies the chest and softer than the quiet that settles after tears refuse to fall. You see the ache that has no story and the sadness that cannot explain itself. You understand the tiredness that lingers even after rest and the pressure that gathers in the soul like a storm with no thunder. Tonight I bring you the heaviness I cannot diagnose, the sorrow that feels undeserved, the weariness that surprises me in ordinary moments. Because you are the keeper of hidden burdens and the listener to feelings that language cannot hold. You walk gently into the rooms of the heart we never open to anyone else, and you do not rush me to be strong or faithful or grateful. You simply stay, breathing peace into places that forgot how to inhale hope. And if you are willing, I ask you now to sit with me in this quiet wait and let your presence speak where my words cannot, reminding me that I am not broken for feeling this way, and not abandoned because I cannot explain it. That even unexplained heaviness is known by you and safe in your hands. And somewhere beneath this weight, you are already preparing rest that feels like home. There are moments, God, when the soul feels crowded even in silence, when nothing is wrong on the surface yet everything feels tender underneath. And you know how confusing it is to carry a heaviness without a cause, to search memory and circumstance and find no clear reason for this quiet ache. Still, you do not demand explanations from a heart that is already tired. You trace the weight back to places even I have forgotten, to accumulated disappointments, unspoken griefs, delayed hopes, and the long discipline of being strong when no one noticed the cost. You remember every sigh swallowed, every tear postponed, every prayer whispered and shelved for later, and you count none of it as weakness, because you never asked the human heart to be endless, only honest. And so I come honestly now, not polished, not certain, not resolved, simply present, trusting that you can hold what I cannot carry alone. And if it feels right in this moment, help me loosen my grip on pretending I am fine and allow this heaviness to rest in you for a while, because you do not shame the weary or rush the healing. You cradle the fragile parts with patience, reminding me that even when I do not know what hurts, you know how to heal. And even when the weight makes no sense, your care never needs an explanation. Sometimes the heaviness arrives like a shadow at noon. God, unexpected and out of place, touching moments that should feel light and turning simple days into quiet endurance. And you see how confusing it is to smile while something unnamed presses inward, how exhausting it becomes to reassure others while privately searching for relief. Yet you never accuse me of lacking faith when my spirit feels dense and slow. You know that the heart can grow tired simply from living, from absorbing the noise of the world, the worries of tomorrow, and the silent responsibility of caring deeply. You understand how empathy can bruise the soul, and how hope deferred can weigh more than disappointment. So I bring you this subtle sorrow that does not cry loudly, but refuses to leave, trusting that you are attentive even to feelings that whisper instead of scream. And in this moment, I gently invite you to step closer to the places in me that feel dim and reassure them that they are not failing, only resting, because you are the God who does not confuse stillness with stagnation or heaviness with defeat. You work quietly beneath the surface where growth is invisible, turning pressure into depth and weight into rooted strength. And even now you are reminding my heart that this season is not an ending, only a pause where you are strengthening what will rise again. There are days, God, when the heaviness feels emotional but also physical, when the chest tightens for no clear reason and the body carries what the mind cannot name, and you notice how exhaustion settles deeper than muscles, how the soul itself feels sore, stretched thin by time and expectation. You know how long it has been since true rest visited my inner world, how often sleep comes but renewal does not follow. And you do not judge me for feeling worn down by ordinary life, because you remember that even dust animated by breath still feels the weight of gravity, still needs pauses, still needs gentleness. So I let myself come as I am right now, unguarded and unfiltered. And if you are near in this quiet moment, I welcome you to place your peace gently over my thoughts and my body, not as a sudden fix, but as a slow easing. Because you are patient with the healing that takes time, you understand that some heaviness lifts only when the heart feels safe enough to release it. And you are creating that safety now, layer by layer, breath by breath, reminding me that I am allowed to feel tired without being defeated, allowed to rest without falling behind, allowed to be human in the presence of a God who carries what I cannot. Even when nothing dramatic has happened, God, the heart can still feel bruised by repetition, by waking up and carrying responsibility again and again without visible reward. And you see how monotony itself can become heavy, how unanswered prayers linger quietly and slowly press the spirit down. You notice how hope can grow tired not from disappointment, but from waiting too long in silence. And still, you never withdraw your kindness from a heart that struggles to stay light. You remain attentive to the smallest emotional shifts, the subtle loss of joy, the quiet dulling of wonder, and I trust you with this weight that feels accumulated rather than caused, knowing that you are the God who redeems not only crises, but also long seasons of endurance. And if you are willing right now, I ask you to gently interrupt this heaviness with a reminder of your nearness, not loud or dramatic, just enough to let my heart know it is not walking alone. Because you specialize in restoring what has been slowly worn down, you breathe freshness into tired routines and meaning back into days that feel repetitive. And even when I cannot identify what drained me, you know exactly how to refill me, patiently, faithfully, without demanding that I hurry the process or justify the need. Sometimes, God, the heaviness comes from holding everything together for too long, from being the steady one, the calm one, the dependable soul others lean on without ever asking how heavy it feels to carry their weight as well as my own. And you see how strength can quietly become a burden when it is never set down. You notice the silent agreements I made to stay composed, to not trouble anyone, to manage pain privately, and you never confuse that with health or wholeness. Because you know even strong hearts need somewhere to fall apart safely, so I come to you without armor now, allowing myself to be seen beyond competence and resilience. And in this tender space I ask you, if you are close, to remind me that I do not have to be everything for everyone, that I am allowed to rest in being held rather than always holding, because you are the refuge for those who carry more than they show, the gentle strength beneath my strength. And you are teaching my heart that release is not failure, it is trust, and that this heaviness does not mean I am weak, only that I have been brave for a long time, and it is finally safe to breathe. There are quiet moments, God, when the heaviness feels like distance, when you seem close in truth but far in feeling, and the heart wonders why warmth fades even while faith remains. And you know how disorienting it is to trust you sincerely yet feel emotionally muted, how confusing it feels to pray without sensation and believe without comfort. Still, you do not measure devotion by how deeply someone feels in a given moment. You measure it by the staying, the choosing to come even when nothing stirs inside. So I bring you this numbness without shame, this calm that feels empty rather than peaceful, trusting that you are present even when my senses cannot detect you. And if you would meet me here, I quietly ask you to draw near in whatever way you know my heart can receive right now, because you are not offended by emotional quiet or threatened by spiritual fatigue. You understand that sometimes love looks like persistence without feeling, and you honor the faith that remains seated when the heart cannot stand, reminding me that your closeness does not depend on my awareness, and that even in this muted space, you are holding me with the same care as always. There are layers to this heaviness, God, that feel older than today, echoes of past seasons that were survived but never fully released. And you recognize how the body remembers what the mind moved past, how the heart stores unfinished grief in quiet corners. And you do not rush me to reopen wounds just to prove healing. You are gentle with the places that learn to cope by closing. So I bring you this weight that feels inherited from yesterday, from other versions of me that learn to endure without being comforted, trusting that you are patient enough to tend to what took years to form. And in this still moment, I softly invite you to touch whatever part of me learned to stay guarded, and remind it that danger has passed, because you are the God who heals without interrogating, who restores without demanding retelling. You know how to dissolve heaviness that words cannot reach, and you are teaching my heart that even old weight can be released safely when held by love that does not hurry, does not force, and does not leave. At times, God, the heaviness feels like a quiet fear that has no sharp edges, a low hum of concern that never fully turns into a thought yet colors everything it touches, and you see how uncertainty itself can be exhausting, how the not knowing can weigh more than bad news ever could. You understand how the heart scans the future and grows tired from imagining outcomes it cannot control, and you do not rebuke me for wanting reassurance, because you know the human soul longs for safety as much as it longs for purpose. So I place this vague anxiety before you now, this restless awareness that something might be wrong even when nothing is. And if it feels right, I ask you to steady my thoughts and gently anchor them in the present moment with you. Because you are the God who meets me now, not only later, who offers peace that does not require certainty, and who teaches my heart that I do not have to foresee the road ahead to be securely held on it, reminding me that even when tomorrow feels unclear, your care today is already enough. There is also, God, a heaviness that comes from longing for things that are good and right, yet still out of reach. Dreams delayed, prayers unanswered, doors that remain closed without explanation. And you see how hope itself can feel heavy when it has been carried carefully for too long, how the heart grows tired of believing without seeing, trusting without holding, waiting without timelines. And you never mock that ache or minimize its weight, because you are the one who placed those longings there in the first place. So I bring you this quiet disappointment that does not rage but lingers, trusting that you are not threatened by my desire or disappointed by my waiting. And in this space, I gently invite you to sit with me inside the tension between promise and fulfillment. Because you are faithful in the waiting as much as in the arrival. You are present in the stretch as much as in the outcome. And you are teaching my heart that hope does not mean ignoring the wait. It means allowing you to carry it with me until the right moment unfolds. Sometimes, God, the heaviness settles in the quiet after everyone else has been cared for, when the world finally slows, and there is no task left to distract the heart, and you see how silence can amplify what busyness kept hidden, how the soul finally speaks when the noise stops, and you do not fear that moment or rush to fill it. You stay present in the stillness where emotions surface without structure. So I bring you the weight that appears when I am finally alone with myself, trusting that you are not intimidated by what emerges there. And in this gentle pause, I invite you to listen with me to what my heart has been trying to say beneath the schedules and responsibilities. Because you are the God who meets me not only in action but in rest, not only in purpose but in presence. And you are teaching me that solitude with you is not something to fear. It is a place where heaviness can finally be named, softened, and slowly transformed into peace that feels honest and earned. There are moments too, God, when the heaviness feels like self-doubt quietly rewriting my reflection, when confidence thins without a clear reason, and the inner voice grows critical and tired, and you see how comparison, expectation, and unspoken pressure can slowly erode the joy I once carried freely. You notice how easy it is to measure myself by outcomes, by productivity, by approval, and how heavy that scale becomes over time. Yet you never weigh my worth the way the world does. You speak to me with a steadiness that does not fluctuate with success or failure. So I bring you this fragile sense of self that feels worn and uncertain, trusting that you remember who I am beneath all the roles and responsibilities. And if you would, I invite you now to gently quiet the voices that tell me I am behind, lacking, or not enough. Because you are the one who calls me whole, even when I feel fragmented, beloved, even when I feel unsure. And you are restoring my heart's vision so I can see myself again through the kindness with which you have always looked at me. There is a heaviness, God, that comes from caring deeply in a world that often moves quickly past pain, from feeling everything intensely while trying to live gently. And you see how compassion itself can weigh on the soul, how absorbing the needs, stories, and wounds of others can quietly drain strength. And you never tell me to harden my heart to survive, because you created it tender on purpose. Still, you know tenderness needs shelter, so I bring you this fatigue that comes from loving, from feeling, from not turning away, trusting that you are the safe place where empathy can rest without being lost. And in this moment, I softly invite you to help me release what was never meant to stay inside me, because you are the God who protects soft hearts without closing them, who teaches how to care without collapsing, and who reminds me that sensitivity is not a flaw to fix, but a gift to steward. And even now, you are replenishing what compassion has spent, restoring balance where care became heavy, and teaching my heart that it can remain open without being overwhelmed. At times, God, the heaviness feels like a quiet loneliness even when I am surrounded, a sense of being unseen in rooms full of faces. And you understand how connection can feel shallow when the heart longs to be known deeply. You see how easy it is to offer pieces of myself while protecting the core, how tiring it becomes to translate inner weight into acceptable words. And you never accuse me of isolation when I withdraw slightly to preserve what feels fragile, because you know the ache of wanting to be understood without having to explain everything. So I bring you this subtle loneliness that does not ask for attention but longs for recognition, trusting that you already know the language of my inner world. And in this quiet place, I gently invite you to meet me beyond words, because you are the God who sees fully without interrogation, who understands without requiring performance, and who reminds my heart that even when human connection feels thin, divine companionship remains deep, steady, and faithful, holding me close in a way that does not demand explanation or translation. There are days, God, when the heaviness feels like being suspended between who I was and who I am becoming, when identity feels blurred and direction feels soft around the edges, and you see how transitions can quietly exhaust the soul, how change, even good change, can feel unsettling and heavy. You know how much energy it takes to let go of familiar versions of myself while trusting what has not yet fully formed, and you do not rush this in-between space or pressure me to arrive quickly, because you work deeply in the unseen stretches. So I bring you this weight of becoming, this uncertainty that accompanies growth, trusting that you are comfortable with unfinished stories, and in this moment, I invite you to remind me that I am allowed to be in process without being lost, because you are the God who meets me in the middle, who blesses the becoming as much as the arrival, and who reassures my heart that this heaviness is not confusion but transformation, a sacred tension where you are shaping what will soon feel whole and steady again. Sometimes, God, the heaviness feels like an ache for clarity, a longing to understand why the heart feels burdened when life appears stable, and you see how unanswered questions can press inward, how the mind circles for reasons while the soul simply wants relief. And you do not scold me for wanting things to make sense, because you know understanding feels like safety to a human heart. Still, you also know that some seasons ask for trust before explanation. So I place this desire for answers gently in your care, trusting that you are not withholding truth but timing it. And in this quiet stretch, I invite you to give me peace that does not depend on clarity, because you are the God who steadies hearts even when questions remain open, who teaches me that not knowing is not the same as being lost, and who reminds me that your presence can be enough support even when my understanding has not yet caught up, holding me steady while insight unfolds in its proper time. There is also, God, a heaviness that comes from carrying faith itself through seasons when joy feels distant, when belief remains but delight feels muted, and you see how devotion can feel weighty when it is practiced without emotional return, how commitment can feel tiring when the heart longs to feel alive again, and you never interpret that as failure or distance, because you know faith is sometimes quiet endurance rather than celebration. So I bring you this tired devotion, this love that has stayed even when it has not felt rewarding, trusting that you honor presence more than passion. And in this moment, I gently invite you to refresh my spirit in whatever way you know it needs, because you are the God who rekindles without forcing, who restores without pressure, and who reminds my heart that seasons of heaviness do not cancel devotion. They deepen it, forming roots that hold steady long after surface emotions fade, preparing a quiet strength that will one day feel like joy again. Sometimes, God, the heaviness feels like a quiet grief for things that were never wrong enough to mourn, but never right enough to keep. Relationships that faded gently, versions of life that almost happened, moments that passed without ceremony, yet left a residue in the heart. And you see how ambiguous loss can weigh just as much as obvious pain, how the soul grieves what it cannot clearly name. And you never tell me to dismiss that sadness just because it lacks a dramatic story, because you are attentive to what might seem insignificant to others, but feels meaningful to me. So I bring you this subtle grief that lingers without permission, trusting that you validate what my heart feels even when the world moves on. And in this tender space, I invite you to honor what was lost without requiring me to relive it, because you are the God who knows how to heal gently, who allows remembrance without reopening wounds, and who reminds my heart that even the quietest losses are worthy of care, compassion, and eventual peace. There are moments, God, when the heaviness feels like a quiet loss of trust in my own timing, when impatience disguises itself as fatigue and the heart grows tired of waiting for inner alignment, and you see how living out of rhythm with my soul can slowly drain strength. How saying yes when I need rest and pushing forward when I need pause can weigh the spirit down. And you never accuse me of weakness for falling out of sync, because you know how easy it is to ignore inner signals in a loud world. So I bring you this weariness that comes from moving faster than my heart can follow, trusting that you are gentle enough to restore my pace without shame. And in this moment, I quietly invite you to help me listen again to the wisdom you placed within me. Because you are the God who teaches rest as obedience and slowness as trust, who realigns hearts without harsh correction, and who reminds me that honoring my limits is not a lack of faith, but a way of staying whole, steady, and open to the peace you are always offering. Sometimes, God, the heaviness feels like a quiet resistance to joy, not because joy is unwelcome, but because it feels unfamiliar after so much endurance. And you see how the heart can hesitate to lighten when it has grown used to bracing itself, how relief can feel risky when disappointment once followed hope. And you do not pressure me to feel better quickly or pretend readiness I do not have, because you understand that guarded hearts learned caution for a reason. So I bring you this reluctance to rise, this subtle fear of being lifted only to fall again, trusting that you respect the pace of healing more than appearances of happiness. And in this honest moment, I gently invite you to teach my heart that joy does not have to arrive all at once to be real, because you are the God who restores trust slowly, who introduces light without blinding, and who shows me that it is safe to feel a little lighter without losing depth, safe to smile without erasing what I survived, and safe to open the windows of my soul just enough to let your warmth enter without fear. There are times, God, when the heaviness feels like carrying invisible expectations, standards I never consciously chose but somehow learned to live up to. And you see how pressure can exist even without a voice demanding it, how the heart can feel weighed down by the need to be consistent, faithful, productive, or okay. And you do not add to that burden with disappointment or urgency, because you know how quietly exhausting it is to live under constant self-measurement. So I bring you this hidden pressure that tightens my chest without warning, trusting that you are not asking more from me than I can give. And in this moment, I gently invite you to loosen the grip of expectations that were never yours to place on me, because you are the God who calls me to rest before results, to being before doing, and who reminds my heart that I am already enough in your presence, already seen, already valued, even when I lay down the weight of proving, performing, or maintaining appearances. And now, God, as all these quiet weights gather in one place, I sense the deepest heaviness is simply the longing to be held without explanation, to rest without having to justify the tiredness or solve the feeling. And you know this desire better than I do. You have seen every layer, every cause and non-cause, every moment where the heart carried more than it spoke, and you have stayed through all of it. So in this final stillness, I open myself fully and invite you to take what remains heavy, and let it finally rest in you. Because you are the God who does not merely lighten burdens but carries them completely. And as I release myself into your care, let your blessing settle gently over my heart. Let peace arrive without pressure. Let rest come without guilt. Let hope return without urgency. And let your presence wrap around my soul like a promise that I am safe, I am seen, I am loved, and I am never alone, now and always. Amen.
Breathe for a moment. God is here. He wants to hear you. If this touched your heart, subscribe for more.